What's up, Ragin Nation? How y'all doing? This is Alex. You watching the Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. This movie review that I'm doing will be for The Wolverine. The Wolverine is the next character spin-off movie from the X-Men franchise. The first one being, of course, the terrible and forgettable X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, directed by, who is that guy? I don't even know who directed it. But anyways, it was just that bad, and a lot of the fans, including myself, want to block it out of our existence. Now, The Wolverine isn't based off of or follows the events of X-Men Origins Wolverine, thank God, but it does follow the events of the original trilogy, and the last movie was X-Men The Last Stand, and that wasn't a very good movie, but it does follow the events of the original trilogy, and mainly one aspect, and that is Jean Grey's death, okay? Jean Grey's death haunts Logan, okay, and that is the only connection between this movie and the original trilogy, and that's it, okay? So you can think of it as a standalone movie, and that's exactly what director James Mangold gives us. He actually gives us a story and a movie that is very, very different, and it feels a little bit disconnected from the original trilogy, and I like that about this movie, because it just feels very different, and we kind of needed a fresh new take on the franchise, and he gives us exactly that. It's a more serious movie. I guess it would be a more a movie that is even more violent, just because the nature of the character of Wolverine, Logan, is you know, it requires a lot of violent action. Anyways, so he travels to Japan, you know, gets away from the events that happen in the previous movies, goes to Japan for a very specific reason, and a lot of cool stuff happens. And I think that this is a very good character piece. It's a very good character study in the Wolverine character, Logan, because it gives us a lot of exposition for his character, and a lot of people might think that this feels like a slower movie compared to the other films. I think this is a very character-driven movie. The other ones were very story-driven, because there's a lot of characters in those movies, but this is a very character-driven movie, and we see more of not really the backstory of Wolverine, but we see more of what's going on in his head, okay, and how he is as a person, okay, and I really like that about this movie. And of course, once you get that out of the way, then we get lots and lots of cool action, and I think that fighting samurais, ninjas, and yakuza is exactly what we needed to see from the Wolverine. Now, if you don't already know, this movie is actually based off of a story from the Uncanny X-Men comic book series. Okay, it's a story where Wolverine travels to Japan, and of course he fights samurais and ninjas. That's not all that goes on in those comic book movies, but it is based off of that. Okay, so a lot of the characters that you see in the movie are actually based off of the comic books. I never read those comics, so I'm just reviewing this movie as a standalone movie. But anyways, I love the action that happens in this movie. It's a lot more violent, okay? Before we saw a lot of like comic book style violence, okay? It's very stylized, but this one feels more visceral, more realistic, and he's using his blades on not soldiers, but human characters. I mean, you know, not super soldiers or not other you know, mutants, but on like gang members and ninjas, okay? So very, very cool stuff. There was this really cool scene where he's fighting yakuzas, and it really set the bar for what the action's gonna be like for the rest of the movie. We're treated to this sequence on a bullet train, and it's absolutely spectacular. Very, very cool. I've never seen anything like that, and I think that James Mangold did a really excellent job with the action. Now, there are some really cool characters. The first thing I noticed in this movie was that this movie comes with so many cool characters, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it takes place in Japan, and a lot of the characters in the movie have a lot to do with some really cool traits and trade skills. Okay, for example, being very athletic, because a lot of them are ninjas and samurais. Okay, so very cool stuff. One of my favorite characters in this movie was Yukio. Okay, Yukio is the red-haired samurai girl. I like to call her samurai girl because she's got a lot of really cool like ninja training. Okay, she's a ninja, okay? she has a lot of cool ninja training, and it's so cool to watch her in action. Okay, they did a lot of really cool stuff with the stunts and the choreography and the fighting, and it really works. On screen, it just looks really exciting. So very cool stuff. And as I was watching the movie, I expected the action to really get progressive, okay? It's just supposed to get better and better and better. But it kind of slowed down for a bit, and I gotta say that the one weak point about this movie was the final act of the film. The final act of the film wasn't exactly what I expected and what I wanted. He fought a formidable opponent, but I just feel that it wasn't up to par and up to the standard of the first fight where he was fighting against Yakuzas. That was really exciting. The fight against the final guy, the big boss, wasn't all that exciting to me. So I felt that the third act kind of fell apart. Not really fell apart, but it wasn't as strong as the rest of the movie. And that's really my only complaint about this movie. It's not a big complaint, but I did expect a little bit more, and some things were just a tiny bit predictable. And I also felt that there's this mutant character called the Viper, you know. She's this poison lady. I don't know a whole lot about her, but I thought her character was weak. You know, there weren't other mutants in this movie except for her, and for the only other mutant in the movie, I feel that yeah, she didn't really do a whole lot. And in fact, if you excluded her from the entire movie and rewrote it a little bit, I think that it would have worked. So that's about it. That's all I really got to say about this movie. I really enjoyed this movie, and I think it's a great installment in the franchise, the entire X-Men franchise, and it's a hell of a lot better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. I highly recommend this movie. Great installment. 7.75 out of 10. So not quite an 8, but it's really right up there. Okay, so go watch this movie. I saw this movie in 2D, by the way. I didn't know what the 3D was going to be like, but I didn't go bother with it. So there you have it. Anyways, 7.75. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. They could have done a little bit more with that, but all they have is this big playing field that is the ocean, and it's still exciting and it's still fun to watch. An amazing job with the